Students, welcome back to my channel Commerce Talk with Sadhana, and today we are going to start our chapter 2 of macroeconomics, that is national income accounting. We have completed our chapter 1 on our channel. So now we are going to start our chapter 2. So again welcome everyone. I hope you are all doing well. Before we begin today's topic, I want to ask you a simple question. That imagine there are two countries. This is country A and country B. Both have beautiful roads. Both have tall buildings. Both have shopping malls and industries as well. Looking at them from outside, can we confidently say that which country is richer or more developed? So probably not. Now think about your own family. This is your family. These are your neighbors. Got it? So if someone asks that how well is your family doing financially, will you tell them that I have a house, we have 2 rooms, 3 rooms, 1 drawing room? No. Or will you first tell that how much you are earning? Got it? So exactly, income gives us a much better picture. In the same way, economists also need a way to measure that how much a country earns and produces in a year. But measuring income of crores of people is not as simple as calculating one family income. Got it? So how do economists calculate the national income of entire nation? This is exactly what we are going to learn in this chapter, that is national income accounting. By end of this chapter, you will understand how a country's income is measured, how different methods are used, and what these figures tells us about the economy. But before learning how to calculate national income, we need to understand a few basic topics or concepts. These are like ABCs of this chapter. Once these concepts are clear, every formula and numerical will become much easier. So let's start these topics. First one is final goods versus intermediate goods. So what are final goods? The distinction in the foundation of national income accounting, because only the value of final goods and services are included. So why there is need to distinguish that whether this good is a final good or intermediate good? Because only the value of final good and services is included while measuring national income. So if you know that that particular product is a final good, then only you can calculate national income. Got it? Let me change color so that it will be visible on this board. Okay. So final goods and including intermediate goods separately would lead to double counting. So final goods that cross the boundary line of production and are ready to use by their final consumers or producers. They are not meant for resale or further processing in same year. So final goods are those goods which are ready to use by their final users. They will not proceed in the consumption process. Got it? And these are not meant for resale. Final goods are of two types. First one is consumption goods, second one is capital good. Consumption goods are final consumer goods that are used directly by a household to satisfy wants. For example, milk, cloth, television purchased by a household. So which are used by households are consumer goods. and which are used by producers as fixed assets to produce other goods are known as capital goods. And example are machinery, plant, tools bought by any company. Next one is intermediate goods. So those goods which are used as raw material or for resale. Raw material or for resale in the same year, that is, goods have not yet crossed the boundary line of production. This is production process. After production, the good is transferred into consumption. But in case of intermediate goods haven't crossed the production boundary yet. Their value is embedded in the value of final goods and must be excluded to avoid double counting. For example, there is a wheat. This is wheat, and from wheat a farmer is creating bread. But if we calculate wheat, prices of wheat in national income, then again prices of bread in national income, so this will be double counting. So to avoid this double counting, we only include final goods because the price of or cost of wheats are already included in this bread. Now I hope you are clear with the concept intermediate goods and final goods. Let's do a quick glance distinction. First one is on the basis of meaning. Final goods are ready to use for their final consumption. Intermediate goods are used for resale or further processing. Boundary line. Final goods have crossed the boundary, production boundary, but intermediate goods haven't crossed the production boundary yet. Inclusion in national income. These are included while estimating national income, but these are not included because to avoid double counting. Example, flour bought by household or flour bought by bakery. Nature, final good may be consumption or capital goods, but intermediate goods are used in further production or resale. Got it? But the same good can be both final and intermediate. How? This flour is same, but when this flour is purchased by a household, then it is a final good because the household is not going to resell it or further process it. Got it? But when this particular same flour is purchased by a bakery, it will become intermediate goods. Why? Because bakery is going to process it and make something like biscuit or cake from it. So the cake is final product and the flour is used in it, so it is a intermediate product. So same product can be both final and intermediate. The basis on which we will decide whether this product is a final or intermediate is its final use. That who is going to use this product. If its final consumer is going to use this product, then it is a final good. If any bakery or any business is going to acquire these goods for further processing or resale, then these are intermediate goods. Got it? So for your example, if goods are purchased by a household, treat them as final, but if same goods are purchased by companies, firms or any bakery as raw material, treat them as intermediate goods. Only when a firm buys a durable goods for its own term like computer, not for resale, it will become final goods. But if they are using any product as raw material and further resale, then it is a intermediate goods. Now our concept of final and intermediate goods are crystal and clear. Let's jump to another basic concept, that is stock and flow. So what is a stock, what is a flow? When we measure any quantity at a particular point of time, it is known as stock. But when we use any quantity at a particular period of time, that is for 1 week, 1 year, then it is a flow. Got it? Only time matters. So distinguish between them are on the basis of meaning. Stock is a quantity measured at a particular point of time, I have told you. Flow is quantity measured over a period of time. Time dimensions. Stock has no time dimensions attached, it is on a particular point of time. But flow has a time attached, that is per day, per month, per year, for a year. Got it? Static and dynamic. Stock is a static concept while flow is a dynamic concept. Examples: capital, wealth, money supply, population, national debts, all are example of stock. Why? Because we calculate all these on a particular point of time. While investment, income, national income, export, savings, all these are flows. Why? Because we measure all these variables from one period to another period. For example, your income. So income is earned for a particular month, not for this point of time. If you have worked for whole month, then you will get this income. Relationship. A stock is the result of flow accumulated up to that point, and flow is the change in stock over a period of time. So this is an important relationship between both stock and flow. I am repeating again that stock is the result of flows accumulated up to that point, and a flow is the change in a stock over a period of time. Capital and investment. So capital is a stock concept because capital is measured at a particular point of time. Investment is a flow because it is the addition of capital stock during a period. So capital at the end of year is equal to capital at the start of year plus investment during the year. So if I talk about capital is a stock concept while investment is a flow concept. Got it? And for another example, to make this topic more clear, let's take an example of bathtub. The quantity of water in the bathtub at any moment is a stock, but rate at which water flows from the tap over an interval of time is known as flow. Got it? So common stock minus flow, capital is stock minus investment is flow. Wealth is stock while saving is flow. Water in a tank, stock, while water flowing through a pipe, flow. Got it? So when per year, per month is given, it is a flow, and on a particular date it is a stock. Now our next topic is gross investment and net investment and depreciation. Students, we are building our base from here so that we can calculate national income very easily. When these words or vocab will come in those formulas or in further topics, so we will not be confused. Got it? So that's why we are doing all these topics here. So gross investment, net investment and depreciation. What is gross here? Gross investment is the total expenditure. When you see the word gross, that means total. Gross investment is the total expenditure made by producer on new capital goods like plant, machinery, buildings, and on unsold stock, that is inventory, during the period of time without adjusting for depreciation. So total expenditure made by producer without any adjustment of depreciation is known as gross investment. What is depreciation? You have studied about depreciation in class 11th very well. We have one chapter based on depreciation in accounts. So depreciation is consumption of fixed capital. When we use fixed capital, the cost of wear and tear of that asset is known as depreciation. So depreciation refers to the fall in value when value of asset decreases due to its normal wear and tear and passage of time. Expected foreseen obsolescence is known as depreciation. It represents the wearing out of capital during the process of production and is treated as business expense. So depreciation is normal. Expected obsolescence, this is normal. It can be anticipated and it excludes unforeseen obsolescence like sudden loss due to new invention of a natural calamity or any new inventions. So this is a depreciation, normal wear and tear of any asset. And what is net investment? See, a producer has invest total minus its value decreases, that is depreciation. Remaining investment is called net investment. Got it? So net investment is the actual addition made up to the stock of capital. It is obtained after deducting depreciation from gross investment. So net investment is equals to gross investment minus depreciation. Or we can say, flip this formula and say gross investment is equals to net investment plus depreciation. If net investment is positive, means producing capacity of economy is rising. But if net investment is negative, that means capital stock is shrinking. Let's take a quick glance on difference between gross investment and net investment. Meaning is, gross investment is total expenditure on new capital asset and inventory change. Net investment is addition of capital stock after allowing for depreciation. Depreciation in gross investment, we do not adjust depreciation, but in net investment we adjust depreciation. Formula for gross investment is net plus depreciation, and formula for net is gross minus depreciation. Gross investment indicates total investment activity in the economy, while net investment tells the real or net growth in the production capacity of any nation. Got it? So how to calculate net investment? That is gross minus depreciation. Wherever you will see word net, then you have to deduct depreciation from gross, then you will get net. Got it? Like GDP is gross and you have to find out NDP. So gross or net means you have to subtract depreciation from gross, then you will get net. Got it? Same is for GNP. GNP minus depreciation is equal to NNP. These all GDP, GNP, NNP, all these you will get in our next video, in which I am going to tell you that what are methods to calculate national income, and there are formulas that how this work. So today we have made our core so strong, and from tomorrow we are going to start our chapter, main chapter, or from where question comes. From these topics which we have done today, from here in exam also question comes, but from the video which we are going to do tomorrow, that is more important for exam point of view. So see you in the next class, and today we will start our methods of calculating national income. If you have any doubt, please tell me in the comment section.